Welcome to another Boom and Bust Editorial. I'm your host, Terry, and today we're talking about the NFL players and the Player Association. They need to do better, man. This all comes about after an offseason where we saw the NBA kind of have unprecedented craziness, and that's a lot to say for the NBA, but you had power players making power moves. You saw organizations being held accountable and held to the fire, all these different things. We saw NBA champion team turn into NBA rebuilding team almost. And so a lot of stuff happening. And then you go right into that or right from that and you go right into the NFL offseason where top elite players are trying to get contracts, trying to hold out to get money. And so I think we always knew the NBA was a player league, player control, and we knew the NFL was an owner's league, owner control. But I think this summer really showed the world just how, the disparity is. And so with that being said, the NFL players need to do better. The player associations need to do better, and they need to have a plan going into the upcoming negotiation. This all I thought about this for a bit, but this kicks off as well with an interview I saw recently from Malcolm Jenkins, safety for the Philadelphia Eagles. And he was on the Rich Eisen show, and he was talking about a number of things, but he was kind of talking about the state of things. And one of the things that he said that interested me was that he doesn't believe mandatory guarantee contracts would be necessarily beneficial for their league. And all this kind of comes to a crux over the guaranteed contracts. When you really think about where the power lays and all that, it does come on the guaranteed contracts because the players understand that in the NBA, if you sign me to this big deal or whatever, you owe me that money. And then we see that affect the whole league. When people want players, they got to trade bad contracts or they got to take bad contracts to get good picks. And so it's a very real thing. It counts against the cap. You got to buy a player out if you don't want to pay him against the cap. Like, this is real money. And so there is a high level of security of knowing that when you sign with a team, they're beholden to you no matter what, unless you break the contract. Whereas in the NFL, it's very different. And so without those guaranteed contracts, there is no real security. It very much is a what have you done for me lately league. And that does make the players stay on their toes and their best ability. Where in the NBA, it's like, once I lock it up, hey, it's not much you can do to me, even if I get hurt, if I don't play well. Which, we could go back and forth about that. But the overall thing is that guaranteed contract would absolutely change the balance of power in the NFL. And so Malcolm Jenkins, I understand what he was kind of saying. Basically, I think what he meant was that the injury frequency is so high in the NFL that it wouldn't do anybody any favors to have a team have a bunch of money tied up into injured players. Whereas in the NBA, the injuries aren't as frequent, but you do have less spots. There's only 15 on the roster, so there's a lot of people not able to play basketball. Even, if someone gets hurt, they're still on the team or hanging around because the contract is guaranteed, so you're taking up spots. But the injuries are less frequent. In the NFL, you got a whole lot more spots. Still a lot of people that aren't playing football, but you got a lot more spots. But you imagine if they were guaranteed, then again, that's a lot of roster spots being held up. And so I could understand what he was saying, but he was saying guaranteed contracts for the top tier players makes more sense. And so that's something that I definitely understand. And then he started to talk a little bit about the rookie deals and all that. And so that's what I want to kind of go into. If I was an NFL player in a position of leadership and we're going into negotiations and they want more games, that's basically the only thing the owners have left. I mean, they want more games. They got control of almost everything else. And so there's this proposal for 18 games, even though You're only required to play 16 as a player, whatever. Still sounds stupid. I don't know. However, that's what they want. And so if I'm a player, the only way I'm entertaining this discussion is if we talk about one of two things. And understanding that guaranteed contracts will never really be a discussion, I'm going to leave that out. Number one for me would be the 5th-year option on rookies. And so, as Malcolm Jenkins was talking about, and what you should understand, is that right now it's a structured 4-year contract, 5th-year option for the team. And so what that means is that for your first 4 years of the league, you are the teams, or you're owned by the team. And then you get a 5th-year option. They can bring you back. And then after that, they could tag you 2 consecutive years. And so essentially 7 years, you are under the thumb of that team if they wanted it. And that is the bulk of your prime. As you look at the average NFL career and all that, you're talking about the majority of your prime, if not all of it, being spent under one contract or one, string of contracts. And that is where the players lose all power. And so then you get situations like now with Melvin Gordon and Ezekiel Elliott, where either you wait until when you're about to be franchise tagged, like Le'Veon Bell, and then you don't sign it and, you hold out. Or you try to do it before you get to that point like Melvin Gordon and Zeke, and you try to force a contract. The issue with that is not everybody's valued the same, as we know running backs aren't. So anyway, the thing for me is, number one, I would minimum want to get rid of the 5th-year option. At minimum, standard 4-year contract, whatever, and then maybe play with the rookie scale as well so that they're paid more. Because what happened is, as Malcolm Jenkins talked about, they negotiated this rookie scale so that they could shift this money to the veterans, where rookies were making ridiculous amounts of money, and the NFL teams could pretty much do what they want. And these veterans who already proved themselves weren't, the middle class, as they say, wasn't making a lot of money. And so they wanted to cap what a rookie could make, so then that extra money in the cap room could go to the middle class player. But what happened was all that money just went straight to the top, as you saw these crazy contracts with quarterbacks and all that. And, at the end of the day, you can't really fault players for getting their market value. But if you want to talk about a collective thing, the rookie scale didn't work. And I liked it when it came out, understood, because I'm like, yeah, rookies shouldn't get paid dumb amount of money when they didn't do anything, and veterans aren't getting paid. But without more structuring, the money just funneled to the top. And so you got to get rid of the 5th-year option and change the scale. On the high end, this is what I would want. I would personally want a 2-year rookie contract. That's what I would want, and I would want first refusal rights, or whatever you want to call it, be granted to the team. So what that means is, after my first 2 years, my contract is up, and you as a team have to a certain date to get the contract done. And so you're the first one that could sign. And I would do a mix of what the NBA does, where you will be the first one that could sign me up to a certain date, but also you can sign me for like 10 million more, whatever it is. And so if I'm getting a high-end market out there, or people are hearing that I might get a high-end market, you can then bump up the amount you can offer me. And so it's more likely I might stay with you. Or if not, I could walk. Now, I will admit up front that probably more likely you could get a 2-year contract plus a team option, which I'm fine with, because that 1 year, well, really is 2 years that you're knocking off. That makes a big difference, because the big issue with contracts is that you're paying players after their prime, as we talked about earlier, where it's like, now when I get to the negotiation table, I'm looking for the money to get paid for what I've done, and you only want to pay me for what I'm about to do, which is fair. You shouldn't get paid for what you've done. You should get paid for what you're about to do. And so I understand that dilemma. The way it's structured now is that, again, you went through most of your prime and you might be towards the downswing by the time you do the contract negotiation. And so what this does is, if you have a freak accident rookie year where you hurt or suspended, whatever, you got a second year to really give them a hard evaluation. And then after that, you can make your determination if you want to make that financial investment. And somebody I was talking with was like, people need to be held accountable for bad, front office should be held accountable for bad decisions. And I think this does, because after 2 years, you need to make a choice about, okay, what am I going to give this player? And now the doors are open. It could be a 5-year deal. It could be a 7-year deal. It could be a 1-year deal. It could be another 2 plus an option. It could be, fully guaranteed. It could be whatever. And so you get to decide how you're going to approach that player. And if you don't feel like they're worth it, then let them go test the market. And so I feel like that's fair. Would it be better to have, or would owners be more open if it's a 2-year plus a team option? Probably. Go ahead. I'm fine with that as well. The point is, let's get these players to the table while they're still in their prime. Okay, so if they say, hell no, we're not doing the options, we're not changing the rookie scale, we're not doing any of that. The other thing I'll talk about is franchise tags. And at this point, they have so many. There's the tenders, there's the transition tags, there's the regular franchise tag, the non-exclusive tag. There's all these things. I honestly don't know enough about every single tag and the way it works to say specifically, but I would say overall I would want to get rid of them. I would just, because like NBA has no tags. There's no tags. And so I would want to push to get rid of tags. And really, like, again, this changes the boundaries, because now, even if you keep me my 5 years, you don't have a way to keep me past that. And I get the idea of a franchise tag. It's like, you can't do the same player more than 2 years in a row. They get paid like hella money for that 1 year. But as we know, the NFL and in the NBA, that hella money don't mean nothing in terms of the security. Well, for the NFL, the NBA, they don't care. But in the NFL, the security means a lot more. And so for me, I'm saying get rid of the tags. Yes, I get it. It was a good idea. Hey, we're going to make you stay, but we're going to give you hella money. I get that, but it doesn't work out in, real practical terms. So I'm saying we're getting rid of the whole tag system. The whole thing has to go. And again, we can replace it with a bit of a bird rights, where the team can sign you for more money that drafted you versus a team that didn't draft you. We could play around with that so you have some leverage, but no, we're getting rid of the tags. So that's what I would come to the table with. If you want more games, you're getting rid of these tags altogether, or you revamping the rookie system. The issue is the veterans are the ones at the table. And so the veterans, whenever talking about rookie stuff, is really hard to get veterans on board, because they're like, well, it doesn't affect us. But I mean, that's part of the leadership's job. You got to get people on board to understand the health of the NFL is probably more important. And so it'd be a tough sell for the players. I get it, but that's just what I would come with. And so overall, I understand the NFLPA put themselves in this position. When they got to the negotiation table the last few times, they allow arbitration power to go to Goodell. And now they complain that he gives out punishments, reviews punishments, and gives out final decisions. They collectively agreed on that. They gave up the whole franchise tag system back, not recently, but back then they allowed that. They changed the rookie scale and allowed them to have 5th-year options, which of course didn't mean nothing to them. But now you got all the players that are vets that were affected by it. And so will they screw over the next rookies, or will they try to change it? And so they gave all that up. And they didn't ask for, to talk about the tag system or talk about the contracts. And they didn't ask for, health insurance in the long term, worried about concussions. They asked for less practice time. They asked for less padded practice, They asked for less two-a-days, all this stuff, because they was being lazy. And again, I understand some coaches abuse it, but if you know football, especially if you're a coach, you know that this is for the players' benefit. We don't want to be out here just to be dicks to run you into the ground. That doesn't help us. We need you to be prepared. And so as a result, you had defenses fall off. You had tackling become worse. You had a lot worse technique tackling, which led to more concussions, which will lead to more penalties. And so players kind of screwed themselves on that. And so going to the table this time around, they need to have a plan in place to be better. And then the last thing I'll say outside of the PA that Malcolm Jenkins totally said, and I agree, is they need to work together more as top tier players. And so, like he was saying, that in the upcoming free agency, all the top players could call each other or have the agents call each other or meet up and be like, look, none of us are signing a contract unless it's a guaranteed contract. Not like fully guaranteed all up front, but like an NBA contract. If they don't give us a contract that's guaranteed, throughout the life, then we're not signing. And they can do that. But like he was saying, if owners got together and did something like that, that's collusion. That's illegal in their agreement. So they can't do that. But players can. They just don't exercise their rights. And I think about that to the further extent. Player options. Like all it takes is one player to do it. There was a big argument with Roquan Smith last year in my Bears community because he was one of the rookies pushing to break these standard, BS rookie rules in the contract. And like I said, everybody's like, why is it his job or blah, blah, blah. And it's like, it takes one player because you understand. I'll just throw out a name, not that they're a free agent. But Pat Mahomes, say he's a free agent this offseason, and he signs a contract. And in that contract, he says it's guaranteed 5 years plus in that after the 5th year, there's a player option for me to pick up. And then guess what happens? The next quarterback that signs it is going to have the same language because now it's a precedent. And then guess what? The top pass rusher that comes up to sign, he's going to want that. And so on and so forth. And so players have that power. And I'm not saying players should have all the power. I'm not saying owners should have all the power. I'm saying that everybody should be able to use their moves and their leverage. And right now the players use none of their leverage. I think the NFLPA has been bad. And I think the leadership of the past screwed them over. So I think top players need to communicate more and work to do things. And the NBA is a lot easier. You don't play the same position, but you all play defense, offense. You all do the same thing: shoot, block, score, rebound. And football is so specialized by position. There's so many teams. There's so many people on the roster. And I just feel like they're more separated. They need to get together. It's own leadership to get them together and really teach them how to exercise their power, because no, they're not going to get guaranteed contracts. No, they're not going to have all the power like the NBA, but they definitely could have a lot more power than they do right now. All right, so anyway, go to the comment section. Let me know what you think about that, the NFLPA, the contracts, all that. Share it around, get the conversation started. Thumbs up, subscribe, and thank you for listening.